Let's go ahead with the let's go ahead with our class now. Basically, see, I hope to attend this session, prerequisite for attending this session is about somebody who has a little bit of manual testing experience would be a plus. If you have manual testing experience is a plus thing, and also you should be knowing about HPALM or any other or any defect tracking tool. So any defect tracking tool if you know about, so that will be easier for you to understand, because we may not be able to show the defect tracking tool how it works and how to raise the defects and all. This is a prerequisite. I mean, the demo, like, we'll try to understand what is a ETL testing and what are the contents that we are going to cover as part of an ETL testing, and how long the duration, and how the installations will be provided. All those things we'll discuss as part of this. So to start with, I would like to introduce you to the data warehousing. I mean, like, what is a data warehouse and where does a ETL comes into picture. All these things we'll understand. So when we talk about the data warehouse, so basically the data warehouse is something, it's a collection of data from the different transactional system and storing it in a centralized database. Collection of data from different OLTP system. I'll tell you what is an OLTP system is all about. Different OLTP system and storing this in a database. So that's called as a data warehouse. So your data warehouse, in a simple terms, you can call it as a data which is present in the database. So that's called as a data warehouse. And you can choose any database as your data warehouse. Like, I can choose Oracle as my data warehouse, or I can choose the Teradata as my data warehouse, or I can choose the SQL Server, DB2. Any RDBMS can be your data warehouse. So which is the case? So Sybase, and this is the one. So that's pretty much on the data warehousing. What is a data warehouse? So in order to understand the complete ETL process, you need to know what is an OLTP system and how the data flows from OLTP to OLAP. So OLTP is nothing but the online transaction processing system. So these are the applications that we use for our daily operations, in the sense for booking any reservation tickets for flights, I mean flight reservation, all these things. So let's understand the different examples for online transaction processing system, how this works, and this how it goes. So let's say OLTP systems are your transactional systems which we use on a daily basis. So it could be your e-commerce application like eBay, and Amazon is another. Amazon and eBay, Amazon, these are all the different transactional application where you can actually, whichever the product that you would like to purchase, you go and create an order, and that becomes a transaction for you. So these systems are called as a transactional systems. And you can talk about the flight reservation application. Any flight reservation system wherein you're actually booking the tickets, so that's in your OLTP application. And your ATM withdrawal, so which you use for withdrawing the money and all, and for internet banking system where you actually transfer the funds from one account to the other account. So these are all called as your transactional oriented applications. I mean, on a day-to-day basis, on an hour-to-hour, you actually perform the transactions for a different purposes. And so these transaction systems, I mean, characteristics of these transaction systems is that there will be no historical data. In the sense, if you go and talk about the ATM withdrawals, if you go and take the mini statement from an ATM, so hardly you see the 5 transactions what you performed. You may not be able to see the previous transactions what you I mean previous year transactions or previous month's transactions, you'll not be able to see that. So that's pretty much on the about the systems which does not have a historical data. And moreover, like the data which is present, a more number of tables will be present here. That data will be distributed across the more number of tables. So I'm just giving you the characteristics because you need to understand this to why do we need to go about the uh, data warehouse. Okay. So now let's talk about more number of tables which are present. So other one data warehousing application, that what we call the other is called as a OLAP system. So OLAP stands for online analytical processing system. Online analytical processing system, which is online analytical processing system or a data warehouse. So it's completely used for analysis. It is completely used for a business metrics. I mean, identifying the business measures like how much profit that you made and all those things. So you need to understand the terms before we step into the ETL. You need to understand what is an OLTP, wherein we frequently perform the transactions. Another is your OLAP system, wherein you use the system for analysis purpose. I mean, basically, OLAP is an interchangeable term with your data warehouse. So data warehouse, or whenever you say the DSS, decision support system, this is your data warehouse. So let's understand now about how to create what is an ETL and how the testing takes place and all. So suppose let's say you have a different transactional systems which are used for your daily operations. Okay. So now we do have the let's say I have a different applications for eBay which they are managing. So ebay.com is actually for a transactional system which is implemented in Oracle database. Let's say they have a PeopleSoft application for managing all the employees who are related to that. I mean, all the employees of the ebay.com and all those things. So let's say they have a CRM application for managing all the customer base and then finding out, so let's say they're using a Cbill or a salesforce.com. So that's another application which you have. So these are all your different OLTP applications which are there. So different OLTPs, and this is also another OLTP application what we have. So these are all the different transactional systems which you are there, and basically you're going to integrate the data from all these transactional systems into a centralized database. The process of reading the data, transforming the data and loading it, that's called as an ETL process. Let's say this is my data warehouse, or I call it as an OLTP system. So I can choose any database as my data warehouse, so I call it as Teradata. So this one which you call it as a ETL process. ETL stands for extraction of data, extraction, and the next one is called as a transformation of data, and the other is called as a load, extraction, transformation and load. So the process of integrating the data is called as an ETL process. So these ETL tools will not only integrate the data from the transactional systems, this will also integrate the data from other type of systems, other type of data sources, that's called as a flat files or an XML files, which you have. Flat files or an XML files, which it is there. So you go and integrate that data back again into the warehouse. So the process of integrating the data from the different transactional applications and the different flat files into the system, into this, that's called as a data warehouse, which it is there. So the process of integrating this data is called as an ETL. So we are actually extracting the data from different sources and loading into the data warehouse. So this is called as your data warehouse, which it is there. So we'll talk about what is an ETL testing. I mean, I'll just come back to that, and I also have to give you the other way around, that is called as a BI. So what do you mean by the BI is that, so now you have loaded the data into this database, and now my data is available in the tables, like let's say you have DIM customer, let's say the DIM vendor, and you call it as let's say the different tables like a DIM product. These are all the different tables where I have actually stored the data, and I have another data, other one which it is called as these are all the different tables which are there. So when you talk about all the data when it is available, so it is going to be represented in the form of reports to the business users. So what we actually do is we'll extract the data from all these sources and put it into the general reports. So your reports can be a bar graph or a pie chart or anything, so which it is there. So bar graphs, pie charts, and so what I was actually telling you was there are different ETL tools which are available in the market, which will integrate the data from OLTP system to the warehouse, and there are different BI tools which are available in the market, which reads the data from data warehouse and represent the data in the form of reports. Your report can be a bar graph or a pie chart or any other a tabular format report. That is also called as, that is also a report what it is represented. So in order to integrate the data from all these transactional systems into the warehouse, or in order to generate the reports from warehouse for a business users, we have a different BI and the ETL tools. I was talking about the different ETL tools which are available in the market. So that is your Informatica Power Center, and you have a data stage which is available in the market, and you also have the ab initio, and there are tools like ODI, Oracle Data Integrator, and the BODS, Business Objects Data Integration Services. So likewise you have SSIS, SQL Server Integration Service, and all. So these are all the various ETL tools which are available in the market to integrate the data. So what, as an ETL tester, what you have to do is, your ETL developers, whoever working in Informatica and all, they actually create the programs to integrate the data from, for example, for integrating the data from this employee table to the dim underscore employee. So what is your job as an ETL tester? So all you need to do is, whatever the program that they have defined is working as per the requirements or not, that you need to check it. So how it is going to work, now let's try to understand in this. So what we do is, we'll be having a transactional systems. Let's say we use Informatica here and integrated the data from all the different tables which are there in your OLTP system into the data warehouse. Now I need to validate the data. Let's say the program P1, whichever you have created, is working as per the program P1, which is working as per the requirements or not. So that we need to validate. So now let's try to check how the general validation will happen. Similarly, there are different BI tools which are there. All these BI tools will read the data from these tables and represent the data. So BI tools are like your OBIE is one BI tool, and similarly the Cognos, Tableau, all these are all the different BI tools which are available in the market. So for all these BI tools also, we need to perform a BI testing. BI testing is nothing but whether your report is properly showing the data what is present in the warehouse or not. If you have any discrepancy with the data, so we'll also perform the BI testing. So basically the data warehousing testing is something that which is comprised of two modules. Okay, one is called as a ETL testing. So wherein you actually have to validate the data between the tables, and BI testing you have to validate the data between the tables and the reports. So that's something that which you have to do. So this is about the data warehousing testing, which comprises of the two modules. So in this course, we are going to learn both of them. ETL testing, we are going to learn with respect to by a simple tool called as your Informatica. We are going to show you how the ETL testing will be done in an Informatica projects. And another one is a BI testing. We are going to show you how it works with the OBIE. So how testing will, this BI testing works with OBIE. This we are going to understand. So I'm going to take an example now and understand. I'm going to take an example and show you how the general ETL testing will be done. See, in order to perform the ETL testing and the BI testing, since because we are interacting with the databases and everything, so we are going to, it's a kind of a manual testing process which we follow. That's called as an SQL. So we need to use a SQL for validating the data. So that's why SQL plays a very important role in the ETL testing. So you should be able to write the complex queries and all those things. So by using the SQL, we validate the data between your transactional system and the warehouse. And by using SQL again, we'll validate the data between your warehouse and the reports. So SQL, as you might be knowing already, SQL stands for a structured query language. So you need not to worry about this if you're not familiar with SQL. So basically we are going to understand from a very basic level of SQL to the highest level, complex SQL query level in this course itself. So this course comprises of the SQL first, then we'll go with the remaining ETL testing process and all. So SQL is covered as part of it. I'll come back to that. So when we talk about the ETL testing process, again ETL testing is actually divided into multiple types. Multiple ways. So one is about the smoke testing, and another is about the functional testing. Smoke testing, functional testing, and you do also have the other type of testing is called as a system testing after integrating all the components in ETL. And we do have a performance testing. We are going to measure the performance of all the ETL programs, whether these are working fine or not. And the other one is about the regression testing. So these are all the different types of testing that we do in an ETL process. So I'm going to show you the test cases, how it will be performed, and what are the different test scenarios that we have to include and then validate the data. So basically in the smoke testing process, you're going to validate whether the programs are present in your ETL repository or not. Validate the ETL programs, what they have defined, or validate the tables in the database. So what it is, validate the tables, what you have, all those things you will use it. I will go in details about it when we actually step into the course, but I'm just giving you the high level structure. Smoke testing is more like you're going to validate the ETL programs, whether this is valid after the migration into the testing environment or not. That's you're going to validate. So let me concentrate on the functional testing part now. So when you call about the functional testing, so here we'll take up an example here and understand. We'll take up an example and understand how we are going to validate the data. So to start with it, let's say I have an employee table and I have defined one ETL program in Informatica which is loading the data into this table called as, let's say, dim_employee. So when you read the data from employee to this, what kind of validations that you have to do by using SQL? So the first one is about the count validation. Basically what we are going to do is we'll identify the number of records in your transactional system, and the same number of records have been loaded into employee or not, or any records are rejected by your ETL program or not loaded, that you're going to validate by using this count validation. So basically you'll write a separate one query to find out the source records, another query to find out the target records. That will do it. So the second one is about you're going to again validate the duplicate records in the target table. See, every day we'll read the data from the transactional system and load it into the target table. So basically, when you are loading an ETL programs have been running every day, so it might be the case that because of the logical failure, the same data might have been loaded. I mean, the same employee might have been loaded twice into your dim employee table. So which should not be the case. It's a wrong data, or you can call it as a junk data. So you're going to validate the duplicate records because of whether we have any duplicate records for in the dim employee table, and then validate it. So similarly, you're going to validate the column level data validation. Column level data validation in the sense, basically what we talk about is when we go to employee table, in the employee table I have a column called as a last name. And the last name is actually holding a value as something like this, Sachin Tendulkar. So this is a value which it is holding. But when I have actually loaded, because of my programmatical issue, so it was actually loaded as Sachin 10. So, and the other characters have been truncated by it, which obviously your source is having one value and your target is having another value, which is not matching. So in a way, the wrong data is actually populated, and it is more like it's truncated the name of an employee. So we are going to validate the column level data validation using a minus query, or by comparing the different files, we are going to validate the data and the column level data validation. So similarly, we are going to also talk about null value validation. So it could be the possibility is that there might be a null values which are present in the target table because of your programs. So there is a value present in the salary column is present for a particular employee, but the same salary is not loaded into the target table. It is being loaded as a null. So in that case, you're going to validate the using the null values. So likewise, there are different scenarios and the different test cases that we actually write for validating the data. So on about the system testing and the performance testing. So when we talk about the performance testing in the ETL process, it is not about by using your Mercury Quality Center and all, Mercury Load Runner or Wind Runner about that, but it is all about the using of statistics, what is available in the Informatica will perform the performance testing. So let me show you the different test cases that we actually have for a ETL process. ETL testing. So if I go and show you on the ETL this thing, so you have a various test cases which have been written on this. So when you talk about the smoke test cases, how whether the table is present, mapping is present and all. Functional testing, what we have discussed now, and the other one is about the system testing, which we verified, and we talked about the performance testing and the regression testing, what it is there. So we have a different types of testing, and we'll write the different test scenarios, and according to that we validate the data by using this. So we are going to share you the what and all of the test cases that we have to write in the ETL testing, and the test plan, how you have to prepare. And the next one is about the test strategy, how you need to build the test strategy and all. So all these things, all the documents and everything related to the ETL testing will be shared with you, how you generally go forward and then process the data. So this is something about the ETL testing, how you validate it and all. And the next one is about the BI testing. So BI testing, we actually show you how the BI testing will be done in a reporting tool called as a OBIE. So we are going to, in BI testing again, we do have the different types of validations. We'll actually validate the data between the reports again by using the SQL, that's called as a data validation. And there are some UI testing, it's like if the browser compatibility, whether the report is actually properly being displayed or not, and export and import print options are working on the UI or not. So all these type of a testing will be done on the UI part. And in some cases, like you might have to compare the data between your data, that's a data validation anyway you're doing, okay? So the UI testing, and similarly even in the OBIE also you do the performance testing. So it's more like you actually work on the you basically work towards the understanding of how much time that each report is taking whenever a business user is clicking on it and all. So that's about the performance testing which it is there. So this is more about a BI testing as well, which we do, and for this also we'll share you the separate test cases, like how it is going to work in the general real time, and what are the test scenarios that you have to do, what are the different test cases on the smoke testing, and what is for a functional testing and the performance testing. So we are going to give you the all the kinds of artifacts related to the BI testing as well. So this is overall idea about how the general ETL testing will be done and the BI testing will be done. So if you understand the process, by one ETL tool and one BI tool, and in a way that the process is same for all the ETL tools what you follow and all the BI tools. So here as a tester you don't need to know the complete Informatica. All you need to know is how to navigate from one tool to the other tool, and where you can actually monitor the ETL programs for these things. So these are all the things which we are going to understand in depth in the training. So whatever the things that we discuss. So let me show you the syllabus copy, like what we are going to cover as part of this training. Let me just go to the, not sure, okay, let me just check. Okay, so we'll go and talk about what is the different data warehousing concepts, and not this one. Okay, let me just, sorry. Okay, so when you talk about this one, see, basically we'll understand about the complete SQL first. Okay, what is SQL is all about. Then we'll understand about the data warehousing concepts. So I just gave you the high level overview of the data warehouse here, but we'll go in detail and understand what is a data warehouse is all about, what kind of tables will be present, and what is a data model and all. And you'll understand about the data marts and the slowly changing dimensions, and we'll extensively work on the SQL part for understanding all those things, and the data warehousing lifecycle, what is the architecture, okay, and ETL testing concepts that we are going to understand how we are going to use about it. What is ETL testing and what are all the different models that are being used in the ETL testing and testing methodologies, and we'll understand about each and every example for each transformation in Informatica. And at the end, like, we'll understand how the general project roles and responsibilities will be performed for an ETL tester, and how it is going to work. That thing we are going to understand in the later point of time. So that's pretty much on the project explanation, all those things. So these documents will be shared with you from your coordinators, whoever actually coordinated with you for the ETL testing. So they send you all these documents. So we are going to follow this in a full-fledged way to understand the complete ETL and the BI testing process. So that's pretty much what I have about the demo.